하도 한국 사람들이 이제 휴전 60도에 60년이 세월이 흘러가니까
It's the 60th anniversary of the Korean War. But many people don't know what really happened during the war, or that many prisoners of war died miserably in North Korea. I feel sorry that many people don't know this, and that's why I want to make this issue known.
이 세상에 이걸 알려라. 30년 생으로
I am 84 years old by Korean age. My name is Yu Youngbuk.
유영복이라고 합니다.
An estimated 24,000 South Korean POWs were left behind after the signing of the Korean War armistice in 1953. Yu Youngbuk was one of them. He spent 47 years working in North Korean mines and waiting for a repatriation that never came. His story is one of cruel twists of fate and stubborn survival. Trapped in Seoul when the North invaded in 1950, Mr. Yu was press-ganged into the North Korean army.
People who supported North Korea came and took young students to the North Korean army, forcing us to join as volunteer soldiers. I was part of their army for a while, but when North Korea retreated, I escaped and met up with the South Korean army.
But Mr. Yu was not allowed to go home to his family. Instead, he was sent to prison for 2 years.
The South Korean army treated anyone who cooperated with the North, even for a day, as a criminal. I kept telling them that I was forced to join, but they didn't listen to me.
Soon after he was released, Mr. Yu joined the South Korean army.
I
felt a sense of guilt that I belonged to the North Korean army for some time, even though it was against my will. I was assigned to the front lines at Gangwon province, where the battle was the most intense.
He was captured again, this time in an ambush by Chinese soldiers sent to support the North Korean troops. It was a little more than a month before the armistice was signed.
It
was June 10, 1953, that I became a prisoner of war. They took me to a prison camp in South Pyongan province in North Korea, the camp where all the South Korean soldiers and U.S. soldiers were kept. While I was there, the South and North signed the armistice agreement. Because of that, we believed we would surely be sent back to the South. But the North Koreans ignored international law and sent us to a mine in North Pyongan province. I worked there for about a year, and then I was sent to Gumduk mine. I spent 47 years and 5 to 6 months in North Korea. There were about 1,000 other POWs who worked in that mine. Gumduk mine was notorious for hard labor. It was primitive work, digging out the mine and sweeping minerals together. It was very dusty and polluted, and the labor was indescribably hard.
The biggest blow to the POWs was North Korea's move to conceal their identity by giving them all North Korean citizenship in 1956. They knew that meant North Korea had no intention of ever letting them return to the South. At
the end of 1956, they decided to give us resident cards to exploit our labor forever. But they told us that now that we had become citizens of North Korea, we would no longer be oppressed and discriminated against. They also encouraged us to get married and have a family. As time went by, many POWs died, but some of us who survived waited for the day that we could return home.
Mr. Yu raised a family in the north and struggled through the famine years in the mid-90s. But after his wife died and his children grew up, at age 70, he decided to take the great risk of trying to escape through China after hearing stories of others making it out of the country.
In 2000, South Korean President Kim Dae-jung visited North Korea. When I first saw the news on TV at my neighbor's home, I burst into tears, expecting that I would finally be able to go back to the South. They announced the June 15 North-South Joint Declaration, but didn't mention a word about POWs. I was very disappointed, and a month later I decided to go back on my own and followed a lady who does business in China.
After a week-long journey, Mr. Yu crossed into China and was met by his stepbrother, who brought him back to Seoul. Waiting at the airport was his 94-year-old father and the rest of his family, who had long thought he had died.
It's hurtful to think that my peers couldn't come even for a day and witness how much South Korea, the country they fought for, had developed. I feel sorry about leaving my family behind in North Korea and defecting alone. But I wouldn't have done it if the situation wasn't so bad. I try to help my family in the North as much as I can. I want to tell them to believe that when the time comes and the two Koreas unite, we will meet again.
A few hundred POWs are thought to still be alive in North Korea. The South Korean government says the issue has been raised repeatedly, but the North refuses to acknowledge that the POWs exist.
If someone wants to hear my story, I will share it. The purpose is to remind people that the Korean War hasn't ended.
For the Wall Street Journal, this is Alastair Gale in Seoul.